Welcome back to my Vision News. Three news stories. First one is about a warning from Dr. Tedros Adhanom, WHO DG, Director General of World Health Organization, who is accused of being unofficial spokesperson of the TPLF. He is warning about allegedly continued occupation of Tigray by Eritrean military. What did he say? We have a clip for you. Secondly, Addis Ababa, Oromia border. Yesterday, we reported that some civilians had been injured in shooting by Oromia region security forces. Now, another incident from Addis Ababa, from Kolfekiranio sub-city, where some civilians have been injured today. And thirdly, Somaliland. Uprising started against Somaliland's self-declared government in Lasanood more than a week ago. Uprising is spreading, or an attempt is being made to spread this anti-Somaliland movement in areas close to Lasanood. Details for you. Firstly, viewers, in the previous video today, I reported about presence of Eritrean military in Tigray. Still, there is presence of Eritrean military in parts of Tigray, which we confirmed through some sources. And Tigray regional government is surprisingly silent, though it should remain committed to peace deal. At the same time, it should speak about what is the status of the presence of Eritrean military in Tigray. The regional government is silent maybe because some commitments on the part of TPLF have not been implemented as well. Implementation could be underway. So that is why maybe TPLF is silent. But Dr. Tedros spoke today. Dr. Tedros, World Health Organization, Director General, accused by Ethiopian and Eritrean governments of supporting TPLF, of furthering TPLF's agenda. And Ethiopian government tried to get him removed from WHO. A formal complaint was registered against Dr. Tedros by Ethiopian federal government with executive board of WHO, but no action was taken. Eritrean Information Minister Yemane Gebremeskel, in several of his messages, lashed out at Dr. Tedros. So both governments accuse him of being unofficial spokesperson and supporter of the TPLF. Dr. Tedros did work with TPLF in the past, though, when TPLF was in power as part of EPRDF in Addis Ababa. He worked as Minister of Health back then, in some other positions too. Now, Dr. Tedros at a press briefing spoke about the situation in Tigray. Firstly, he acknowledged the improvement in delivery of humanitarian aid, delivery of medical supplies to Tigray. He acknowledged the resumption of basic services in some parts of Tigray, like banking, electricity. At the same time, he confirmed the continued presence of Eritrean military in Tigray. He said it was a matter of concern that occupation of Tigray by Eritrean army was continuing, and civilians were being massacred, he said. So he claims that Tigrayans are being killed by Eritrean forces. It's still continuing. And he urged international community to ensure withdrawal of Eritrean military from Tigray. He seems to be warning international community that the peace deal could collapse if Eritrean forces don't leave Tigray. I confirmed in the previous video a few hours ago that yes, EDF is still there in Tigray, in some parts of Tigray. Though, again, I'm saying the presence of EDF in Tigray could be linked to some commitments of TPLF which are being implemented, but it is ongoing. I think Eritrean military will not withdraw from Tigray until complete disarmament of TPLF, or at least until TPLF surrenders, Tigray forces surrender heavy weapons. Take a listen to what Dr. Tedros said.
Then on the Tigray, of course, after the peace agreement, the signing, there is progress now in food delivery, there is progress in medicines, there is progress also in both comparing the need, the huge need the region has of the 6 million population. Still, there are lots of areas that are not yet covered, but we hope that can be addressed, but there is good progress. And the other area is the services. I think in banking services, resuming banking services, resuming telecom, that's good in a good number of, in some parts of the Tigray region. But that will need, I think, to have full coverage as well, but there is good progress in resuming basic services. I think the only problem now we see is the continued occupation of Tigray by Eritrean army, and as we speak, they're massacring civilians. They continue to massacre civilians, and we believe that could affect the peace agreement. And I think the international community should help in making sure that Eritrea respects the peace deal and withdraws from Tigray and stop the massacre. I think these are the two issues. Back to you, Christian.
Second words, Addis Ababa, Oromia, Amhara tensions, though it seems to be internal issue of Addis Ababa or issue between Addis Ababans and Oromia regional government, but Amharic news sources are taking up this issue. Since yesterday, some houses are being demolished in Addis Ababa, mostly on Addis Ababa Oromia border. Yesterday, in a confrontation, Oromia region's security forces opened fire. 5 protesters were injured, whose houses were being demolished by Oromia region security forces and other departments. Today, it happened again in Kolfe Kiranio, which is a sub-city of Addis Ababa. Here, Oromia region security forces and a task force arrived to demolish some houses. Reportedly, no advance notice was served, and the team started demolishing houses. It led to confrontation. Security forces opened fire. 4 people were injured in this firing by Oromia region security forces. 4 civilians were injured. It is being confirmed. So this issue of demolishing of houses, which Oromia government says are illegally built, is now turning into another issue in Addis Ababa. We have seen issues like Oromia region's flag hoisting in Addis Ababa, Oromia anthem singing in Addis Ababa, but the issue of demolishing of houses on Oromia Addis Ababa border is a new issue. Is it due to the fact that Oromia Addis Ababa border is not properly marked, or there are unresolved issues regarding Addis Ababa being the capital of Ethiopia? That is why we keep on seeing one or the other issue about Addis Ababa, and whenever it happens, we see that Amharic news sources take up these issues as if it was an attack on Addis Ababans from Oromia regional security forces. And they back civilians. They find an opportunity to launch a campaign against Oromia regional forces. But people are being shot at. They have been injured. 5 injured yesterday, 4 injured today. federal forces should try to intervene in such sensitive issues on Oromia Addis Ababa border. Because if there is no federal force involved, it turns into Oromo versus Amhara conflict, which it isn't sometimes. But since there is no federal force deployed at such places during such incidents, that is why it leads to confrontation or alienation between Oromia regional government and Addis Ababans. Thirdly, was Somaliland, self-declared country in the Horn of Africa, Lasanood city in Sul region of Somaliland, where more than a week ago, protest erupted after some locals were killed in a confrontation between locals and Somaliland security forces. Since then, in protests, in confrontation, around 20 civilians have been killed, dozens have been injured. The situation is far from being peaceful here. Last night, Somaliland security forces again launched a crackdown. It led to clashes. Several were injured last night too. So far, no electricity, no telecom services in this city, Lasanood. People waved Somalia's flag in Lasanood, and Puntland is allegedly backing uprising in Lasanood. Musi Bayabdi yesterday accused Mogadishu and Puntland of backing uprising against Somaliland's government in Lasanood. He accused some individuals from Ethiopia and Kenya of fueling tensions in Lasanood. Now, the uprising is spreading. An attempt is being made to spread this uprising in the neighboring districts of Lasanood. Today in Taleh, close to Lasanood, people waved Somalia's flag. They were seen trying to mobilize themselves. And in Hudan, which is also in Sul region, local tribal elders denied having signed a peace agreement with Somaliland's government. So an attempt is being made to destabilize Sul region of Somaliland. In Lasanood, uprising ongoing. In neighboring areas as well, we're seeing attempts to mobilize people against Somaliland's government. Somaliland's government used force to control the situation. That led to deterioration of law and order situation.